for joining us today. My name is Joanna Yang. I am the co-VP for a nonprofit called NAP, so National Association of Asian American Professionals. And we welcome everybody. NAP is a leadership development, and we give back to the community and build relationship with local businesses. And that's why we're here today. We want to support the local businesses during this time. And since COVID, NAP actually partnered with 30 local restaurants in collaboration with 6 other nonprofits to support the first responders. And we actually provided over 1,600 meals just from partnering with these local businesses. So we thank all the local businesses out there and, just everything you guys do. And same thing with the first responders. And so NAP's always looking for ways to support businesses, working professionals, and the COVID relief campaign was one of them. And now with today's event is we want to support and hopefully you guys get inspired and walk away with one actionable item as business owners to pivot during this time and grow. And so that's where NAP partnered with Braindom. Braindom is a consulting company and they connect small businesses to resource and tools to optimize the workplace employee productivity and grow during this time. So actually today we have one of Braindom's consultant, Julie Ha Truong, here with us, where she'll be facilitating this webinar alongside with our 2 guest speakers, Kevin and Sherry. So Julie is a co-founder of Leadership Savvy, and she brings over 20 years of working experience with building innovative businesses and leadership solutions. She had led award-winning initiatives and supported the development of thousands of leaders. And in her professional role, she actually doubled the staff count, the revenue, and even the mission impact to the community. So when you think of a thought leader, that community person, that's where we want to bring that expertise to you guys. And we have Julie. So I'm actually going to pass it over to Julie because I want to get on with this exciting program that we have going on. So Julie, I'm going to hand it over to you and you can take it away and introduce our guests.
Wonderful. So exciting on multiple levels to be here today. To present at another NAP event, who's really been an anchor for our community, the launch of Braindom webinar series. This is just the first of many, and we'll be bringing in other experts to the stage as well. And then as we were planning, Joanne especially started speaking with other entrepreneurs, business owners, and Sherry, Louis, and Kevin Seo were so kind to join us. Their stories, we just jumped out of our seats. We're so wowed by their experience. We really wanted them to be able to share it with the world. So we're really happy to have you here today to really concretize some of the training content that we'll be walking through today. So just a bit about who we are, who the panelists are. So I am founder of Leadership Savvy. I'm a business consultant as well as a leadership coach. So I help entrepreneurs, business owners, organizational leaders figure out how to make the best use of their resources to be able to meet your passions, your missions, the change you want to see for the people that you serve. And I do that to help you internally or personally. Sometimes we have all the skill sets, we've got all the connections, but there's just something there where we're like, am I really doing my life's work? Am I fully happy and living out the most of what I can accomplish? I walk you through that. So that's the one-on-one coaching, a lot of career coaching during COVID right now, and a lot of really fun scenario planning. I say fun because you have to kind of go into that mindset. COVID has kind of put all of us business owners in a place where we've had to be really self-reflective of why we're on this journey and how we can be best of service. Sherry and Kevin know that firsthand. They're going to be sharing their examples with us. We're 6 months in. Can you believe it? It's just blink and the world has changed, and we all have changed as business leaders and our organizations ourselves. We also have some new innovations and births of projects, initiatives, companies. Both Sherry and Kevin have gone through some of those innovations and redefining who they are and what they can offer to the world. So really excited that they'll be able to share that today as well. Just some pictures here of me facilitating groups, and I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations as well. This is a group called DIY Girls. They do STEM training to train the next generation of engineers and scientists. All right, so our first guest speaker is Sherry Louis. She's the owner of Perfect Bakery. They're located in Walnut, California. Before COVID, they really proudly, and I guess they still do, she'll tell us more about it, but they specialize in custom cakes, creating beautiful dessert tables for people's most special events, and really creative desserts, putting a fun spin on some classics. So you'll see here two beautiful examples, the macarons, the cupcakes. There's so much love in each of her products. And over time, this COVID period, Sherry's really gotten creative and really listened to her inner voice and to what the community needs are, and really have been there for us. So thank you, Sherry, for being here today. We also have Kevin Seo, who will be joining us. He, I couldn't give him a title because he wears like 10 titles. So we're calling him Super Connector Entrepreneur. He comes from an immigrant family and today proudly wears multiple executive hats. One of them, namely, is he recently co-founded Food Fest Live. So that's the background representing him today. And he's the CEO of that company. It actually was founded during COVID. So I look forward for him to share how that came about, the why, and the logistics of setting such a complex event online. Before doing this type of e-commerce online collaboration work, he climbed the corporate ladder for 10 years and then realized that there was something else he wanted to do. So I'm sure some of those stories might emerge today. He took the leap to go into e-commerce, social entrepreneurship, startups. And actually, he was honest with me. He said he's been doing this for even before 2019. So 2015, he started selling whatever he could get his hands on. I mean, it was on eBay, on Amazon. He was doing retail, wholesale. And so today he actually works for a larger firm. I think Parcel is the rebranding that you guys just underwent, but it previously was called Un Express. And they've grown in a short time to deliver 1 million parcels. Is it a day or a month? Kevin, you can chime in.
That's daily. Yeah.
Daily, my goodness. And they have 1 billion in revenue as of 2019 and recently became Series C funded. So you really have fully embraced this space. And the goal for them is not just to build a strong business, but to help reduce the cost of e-commerce for people who are shipping their products. So it's a service to the industry. So thank you. A couple of fun screenshots there of Kevin's work. Another win they're celebrating is they're moving into a larger warehouse space. A beautiful picture of that right there. So the first thing I want to start with was we all appreciate and love Steve Jobs. It's not just innovation he strives for. It's something that kind of transforms our lives, helps makes our lives better. It makes us to feel like we're a part of community. So his quote here, "Innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, not a threat." I think this statement has been so important for all of us who in those early weeks of COVID, really, I think even for these super connectors who are all on this panel, it was kind of hard to get out of bed, right? We were wondering what is going to happen with our world, all of these people that we care about, all of the things that we know, these systems have just been changed overnight. So for the ones who own businesses where other people's livelihoods are in our hands, and we have clients and customers we need to serve, we couldn't just lay low, hunker down for very long. We had to see these challenges as opportunities, and so happy that we'll be able to share how we overcame that barrier and started to innovate and find new solutions that without challenge, without COVID, we might have never arrived at these new opportunities. So today what we're going to explore is 3 topics. innovating through this period of crisis, thinking about how to make decisions around operational capacity and impact. When we pivot, we have to think about the resources we have. So some of those decisions are not easy. And finally, how do we stick to our brand or not, right? Do we pivot? How do we continue to define who our target audience is and stay true to them? So a few topics we'll explore. So the first topic, innovation through crisis. Just wanted to remind you that this work is not easy. 70% of change efforts fail. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't do them. It means that we should go in with full faith, knowing that this might fail, but let's use it as a chance to learn and to grow. And the most important thing here is to really go back to purpose. There might be temptations to go to the low-hanging fruit, and that might be okay for the short term, but that won't be the path that will take you forward for the long term. So during moments of quiet, take some time for you and your team to go back and think about, why are we really here? Why are we doing this work? Why are we pushing all of these long, difficult hours? What is our true purpose here? And when you establish that, you find that whatever path is there or not there, you will find ways to make it happen. And purpose is what drives ourselves and our missions and the people that we work with. The other thing that's really wonderful about crisis, right? That sounds odd to say, but in these moments, folks are open to possibilities. We start to see systems and hierarchies differently. Where we previously saw walls, saw excuses, right? Saw barriers, suddenly they're gone. We never thought that 70, 80% of our workforce could go online and work partially remote or fully remote, right? It just overnight that changed. And so when we are in these moments of crisis, people start to see possibilities. And that's a really exciting moment for us with our leadership teams, our staff, and our clients that we're working with. And finally, that increased agility. So don't change everything on a dime, but be very strategic and intentional around, what do you want to try? What do you want to pilot? And communicate it. There's nothing worse than a business leader, a visionary, an owner who continually changes where the North Star is, right? You've worked with people like that. It can cause kind of you to feel crazy. But so us as business leaders and owners, it's really important that we stay open-minded, we see that this is opportunity, but we communicate and we make sure that we tell people internally and externally with our organizations what our plans are and to bring them along. So I'll stop there, and I'm going to ask Sherry to share with us an example of when the crisis hit. When did you realize I might have to pivot, and how?
I think probably during the first week, just with the unknown, right? Like, am I going to be able to keep my bakery open? You know, I kept getting calls with brides going, hey, you know what? I'm going to have to postpone my wedding. I'm going to have to cancel my wedding. You know, this birthday party isn't happening. And it just really got to me because every single call was a negative call in a sense that, you know, I can no longer fulfill their order. Just that idea alone, I felt like I was going to go crazy. So what I ended up doing was reaching out to the community, because I think at the end of the day, I really enjoy helping people, being part of their memories and stuff. And I kept seeing posts about people not being able to find food, right? Like that's when the shelves were being empty. Like there was no eggs, there's no milk, there's no, I mean, I even had problem finding all-purpose flour to bake like my cupcakes. And I think I was just trying to get my mind off of the bakery at the moment. So I posted on our local city Facebook group saying, hey, you know what, I have resources to the wholesalers. So pretty much like a Costco, but for businesses, right? Who needs help getting ingredients? I'll do it for my cost. Like I'm not going to upcharge, but I just wanted to give back at this moment because that's what we can focus on at the time, right? So thinking I'd probably help like, 5, 10 families. It was an hour. We got like over 100 some comments. So, I mean, I had to close it off because it was just me alone. We ended up helping 140 families. We were able to find like rice, beans, water, eggs, dairy. I mean, I didn't even have an online platform at that time for online ordering. So we did it the old school way. We did like Google Docs, and I had to individually put everything on PayPal and try to get their money and everything. But I mean, I think the blessing from that now is I was able to work with the city, and every week we do 100 boxes to seniors in need and continue to give back, and that kind of fulfills you during these challenging times.
Wow. So something where you thought, I'll just help a couple families, turned into 100 families to give them staples, really basic things that they needed. And now am I hearing that you have an ongoing contract with the city to be able to feed over 100 families?
Right. So every week we do 100 boxes. They get donated to the seniors. They're gracious enough to allow us to bake the breads and add it into the boxes, but we fill it with like a gallon of milk, pasta, butter, fruits, vegetables. I mean, just kind of like essentials, because there are still a lot of elderly people where it isn't as safe for them to go out.
Well, thank you for your service. So at this point, how do you feel as a business owner doing this work? Does it meet your mission or stray from your mission?
No, I think it definitely meets my mission, because I'm all about giving back, right? I'm all about making a difference. That's where Puffit kind of stemmed from, in a sense that even if I was part of someone's wedding, like I wanted the cake to be the centerpiece. I wanted to be part of the memories, right? So it goes along with like helping people, and I think it fills me inside. And obviously right now I'm not baking a ton of cakes and cupcakes or whatnot, but it still fills me in my mission.
Got it. So it never really was, when you looked at the heart of your work, it never really was just about the baking. It was about the people.
Right.
I hear you. So I'm going to go to the second slide, and then I'm going to ask Kevin to share. Kevin actually has probably a lot to share on this topic. But as we build, as we evolve during this time, we've really had to take a closer look at what resources, and I'm talking about connections, people power, as well as finances, all of the industry and the logistics. There's a lot to explore here as we're looking for change, right? We might have suddenly experienced shortage in cash flow. Our contracts may have dramatically shifted. I used to close really large $25,000, $30,000 contracts, and suddenly those were all put on hold. And now I was closing $2,000 to $5,000 contracts. It shifted the way I worked as a consultant. And Sherry's already shared having to move everything online and doing e-commerce online and processing PayPal payments. If you go to our website now, it looks really seamless and beautiful. I did not know that you had only just built that out on your website. And so this time it's, again, pilot, learn, pivot, communicate with your team internally and externally. I'm going to pass this on to Kevin. I'm curious, we see a lot of you, Kevin, the external side. I feel kind of part of your team, the way you have this infectious energy about you where everyone is in your boat. Like, I don't know when I was invited, but I feel like I'm on this boat. So can you talk a bit about the behind the scenes work? How do you get all this done? You have so many businesses and initiatives, networks that you are a part of.
Yeah, well, I mean, the easy question to that is that I just have really awesome, powerful teams. They just love working together. I empower my teams. I have a very simple philosophy that we're all adults. I don't micromanage anybody. I set strong expectations, and we follow through on execution. It's pretty simple in that sense. But going back to like pivoting, just another thing I want to let people know out there is that, like, what you see right now through my social media feed, through my personal branding, who I am, I just put myself out there. All it takes is a little bit of courage, and anybody can do it. And I truly, truly mean that. And the reason why is a lot of people think I've been on social media for years, or I've been, on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn for a really long time. The truth is, the only platform online that I was kind of heavily using was maybe LinkedIn. And even then, I think I still had a lot of connections there. I had up to like about about 6,000 connections or so on LinkedIn in 2019. And my job, there's a lot of face-to-face meetings. There's a lot of conventions that I have to go to. There's a lot of conferences, dinners, and different types of meetups. But when COVID-19 happened, when the pandemic happened, that all suddenly stopped. And as an extroverted extrovert, like literally, I always say this is that if you want to kill an extrovert, you put them in quarantine. And absolutely, I was dying. And I just couldn't just sit there and just pick up the phone and call a bunch of people and not see anyone's face or just email people. It was just really sad for someone that's so extroverted as me. And I want to see people, I want to see how they're doing, I want to talk to them, I want to learn about them and connect with them. And I was already an avid networker in person at these conventions and different meetings and different groups and whatnot. And suddenly I just can't see anybody. And so I was slowly starting to get more active online, maybe January of 2020. And my Instagram had like 10 like, because I created a work Instagram, right, where it's like more for business related stuff, more growth mindset stuff. And I had like 10 followers like on Instagram. And like and then on Facebook I just had my friends from like where I grew up. So I just had like 200 friends from like high school that was still on my Facebook. And I just made a conscious decision, you know what, I'm just going to be more active online. I have to meet people. I'm just going to put myself out there, stop being so Asian American where I'm like going to say like, I don't want to put my image out there or whatever. But instead I created an online presence. I decided to give personal branding a shot. I gave myself a challenge on LinkedIn and Instagram that I'm going to post something every day. I'm going to film myself every day. And a very simple thing that was taught to me was before I release any piece of content, and this is super important and so simple, before you release any piece of content online, just take 1 second to think, is this going to bring value to someone in your audience? And that's it. That's as simple as I make it. And so I don't make videos for me. I make videos for the people that are going to watch it. And I just make content in the audience members that I'm going to talk to. And so that's what I put out there. Sometimes I like film something and I'm like, this is just for me, so I'm not going to put this out there because it's just like funny or stupid or whatever, which I still do sometimes. But, you know, that's really how I kind of grew my online presence. And like, as far as my groups and my following, you know, it grew to like 15,000, which is kind of crazy. And then the actual network that I have now with the actual group members, it's like over like 150,000. And so like now I have this reach that I never could have imagined, and scaling it and shifting it to online, it absolutely becomes a real tool for you, but you could still do it with a genuine heart in the right way, where you don't have to feel like you're Instagram famous or selling out or whatever. You just be genuine in your content and just be focused on what you're really trying to do is help the community or whatever it is for you. So, yeah.
Wonderful. I love that. It sounds like even though you have 150,000 followers at this point, people you can reach out to, or people you're connected with in some way, it really, you only started really this year being more intentional.
Yeah, 2020.
So it's something we all can give a go, and that it's worth it. I loved your point about make it for them. And if you start with that, if you bring value to them, they'll want to follow you and listen. Wonderful. One question I have, since this is a bit about kind of operational capacity and resources, can you talk a little bit about the e-commerce company and how you guys, were you worried at all when COVID hit? How have you been able to kind of power through? Do you feel like you've had to take risks, or is it more measured? Kevin.
Oh, you're talking to me? I'm so sorry. I was like reading
That's
comments.
okay.
I was gonna read back some of these. Anyways, one
Yeah,
more time.
no,
I'm so sorry.
specifically your e-commerce company. You've had such tremendous growth even through COVID. Were you worried at all? Was the company worried at all when COVID hit? And how did you pivot? Do you feel like you were continuing to take risks, or has it been a more measured approach?
So with the company itself, it was definitely, we didn't have to take too many risks. And the reason why is we're in the essential space. And so we kind of knew as COVID was happening, well, right in March, I guess things slowed down for everybody. And we were kind of holding tight. And then we realized that we had to shift some stuff around for our own employees. I sent everybody home. I didn't want anybody to work from the office anymore. We had to make some sacrifice in the warehouse, however, and create different safety measures. And we did that early. And I think that's because, like, for us, we were lucky. We're a China-based company. So my headquarters in Shenzhen, China, that's like one of our main headquarters. They kind of reported about COVID to us early, starting January. And so for them, they were impacted early on. So we started taking safety precautions in February. So it's not, so we were kind of ahead of the game because we knew no matter how, I guess, safe people were going to be. And at the time, there's like no infections in the US. There's like single digit numbers. We just didn't trust it because we knew how crazy it was going in China. And my counterparts during February, they had to shut down in Shenzhen office. So the fact that the Shenzhen office was closed in February, I was like not only for the Chinese New Year, but they extended it where they didn't come back because of COVID. And I was like, oh man, like I think we have to make a call here and start getting ready. So we already prepared our warehouse ahead of time. We followed world news, not just our news. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve, being an international company. And then once it hit, we kind of just held it down, waited. And then for us, literally doubled our revenue during COVID. Like we were at 500,000 parcels daily. And literally by April, we're at 1 million already. And we had to expand quickly. We injected revenue. We talked to the teams and strategized with the teams back in Shenzhen and said, hey, we got to expand. So we took a little bit of calculated risk because we were ahead of the curve. But what's great about working for an Asian company is we move pretty fast. We don't have to we don't have to like dawdle around. Like if someone says, let's do it, we kind of just go, all right, let's go. And it was pretty amazing how fast the team worked. And now we have a huge facility that we're underway, and we have 2 more facilities by the end of 2020 that we're projecting for Chicago and New York. So we're extremely excited. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. What you described makes me think about the 2 types of leaders I've been seeing and working with. Ones that listen closely to what's happening out in the market and are constantly responding and pivoting. Where I worked with another group who kind of wanted to wait it out. They weren't sure if they should believe all the news, and they were staying really true to their own mission and their service. And so they didn't want to change too much because that also, they didn't want to just change in a way that wouldn't be true to who they were. But the ones who were listening and preparing early are the ones who I think were able to get online faster and move their services into this COVID world. So I'm gonna turn this to Sherry because it actually relates to our 3rd topic here, which is really listening and thinking about who our target market is. Who are they in this world? Is it the same as who we were trying to serve before? And how do we continue to engage them? As business owners, we're always thinking about that pipeline. The social media world that we've been talking about today allows us to build that larger platform and create a bigger funnel to help us build those relationships. And eventually, hopefully, we'll have faithful followers and people who really love and appreciate the services that we offer. So here on this slide here, there's a quick graphic that talks about when we have a clear, solid purpose and we're connecting strongly with our people and we've built processes that help support all that we're trying to accomplish, we'll have a cohesive and strong company. And that throughout crisis, or maybe every 6 months or quarterly, depends on your company, you take time to do that self-assessment. Are these 3 things solid? Where have we kind of gone off course and how do we bring that back? So a couple of the bullet points here, I've mentioned that who is our market today? How do we ensure that this pipeline still makes sense? The second bullet point is actually really important. When you are innovating, different shiny objects can seem really attractive, but are we really reaching the full value of each of those efforts? So what I mean by that is, like, for example, if you're putting out a new product, are you putting it out for a day, for a week, for a month? Are you also leveraging it by amplifying it on social media? Are you talking about it before the product is launched so that you're building a following even before the product is released? And once it's released, what are you doing to continue the engagement, continue that excitement that comes with the product release, right? So thinking about reaching the full value of an effort and not just having these piecemeal efforts. And then the third bullet is, during this time, I've seen so many wonderful successes through partnerships. I hope Sherry will share a couple of them. I'm sure each of these bullet points you're like, oh yeah, we experienced that. But finding success through partnerships, not just for business reasons, but just to remind us that we're all here in this community together. And then as fellow business leaders, we love to hear the results and the lessons learned. In the social media world today, in the personal branding, we want to see a little bit behind the scenes. What have been some of the things that you've had to grapple with? Let us celebrate those wins with you. And when there are missteps or things that you've learned, I think it's okay to be a little bit transparent that we can no longer offer this anymore because it just didn't work out for these reasons. And instead of having folks feel angry about it, they kind of understand you, right? They become our extended family. So Sherry, I'm going to pass the mic over to you and just have you share a few examples of how you've interacted with your customers, and have you had to rethink your target market and how to really provide relevant services during this time?
Well, a lot of my main, I guess, target market are families, right? And so I had a lot of parents come in and want to leave their children at the bakery because they were losing their minds, right? Like they didn't have their children 24/7 and now they have to deal with like social distance learning and stuff. And they just wanted some time alone to themselves without worrying about the kids. And that's when I started doing a lot of DIY kits, right? And with the DIY kits, like let's say I was going to do sugar cookie decorating, right? So I would bake the sugar cookies, I would have the icing. I would usually charge for my classes in the store, but now is kind of more of a service to the community. You buy the kit and then I'll go on social media and teach you how to decorate these cookies. So for that 1 hour or 2 hours, you'd be able to have your alone time, but then have your child learn like a new skill set. And this eventually kind of turned into partnerships with a lot of people in the celebration industry with event planners per se, right? So we recently did mochi donut kits. I was able to partner with an event planner who didn't exactly have the clientele at the moment because there are no weddings. And so she was able to help me with my networking and reach and utilize her resources and still be creative at the same time while still serving the community and fulfilling our own creativity, I would say.
Wow, that's, as a parent myself, the DIY kits were really attractive. And I need to follow you closely because I see a lot of them sell out really quickly. So be sure to follow Sherry on Instagram. And I think you also post quite a bit on Facebook, right?
I try. I think I link them together, yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of your products, earlier you said you had to bake fewer cakes and cupcakes. So have you had to create other products to kind of fill in that place, or is it just a straight reduction in production?
No, yeah, definitely. We launched our Korean garlic cream cheese bread, and that's totally different from what I initially went into the baking industry for. You know, I really enjoy doing like the dessert tables and the cakes and stuff, but I don't know, COVID just kind of started all this Instagram trend with the Korean garlic bread. I figured out how to do it, and I'm putting my own spin to it, creating different flavors, offering it on the weekends, doing pre-orders. I know I'm going to do mochi donuts next, since that's like the next trending thing, but still kind of staying true to yourself where I'm able to put my own flavors and twist to it and call it my own.
Great. So now that you are you're working with different products, right? You're baking bread. I think when I chatted with you previously, you were like, the one thing I'll never do is bake bread. But here you are, and folks are actually really responsive and positive about it. Your mochi donuts also just flew off the shelf. And I remember you being honest with me on another call that is a lot of work. It's like manual labor, sculpting 8 dough balls to paste them back together to make just one donut, and then multiply that by 200 donuts. It's a lot of hard work. And so as you think about these innovations now, can you kind of look into your crystal ball? Do you see yourself continuing to innovate into the next year or 18 months? Or do you see yourself maybe hunkering down and solidifying your offerings, either going fully back to what you did before with the dessert tables and the cakes? Or do you think there will be some new staples?
I think COVID kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. Initially, I was just always a planner, and I always stuck to a plan, and I was really careful about my next steps. And I think COVID kind of pushed me, and I had to just kind of go with the flow, right? Like, I don't think that I would, if you were to ask me in the beginning of 2020, hey, you know what, Mochi Donuts trending, do you want to do it? I'd be like, no, it's okay. I'm going to stick to my dessert tables. But only last week I decided, you know what, now's the time. I'm going to invest in the machine and see how it goes, because, rolling 8 dough balls per Mochi Donut was not going to happen again, I don't know. In terms of weddings coming back to its full, I don't know how it normally is with like 400 people and like thousands and thousands of desserts. I think it's going to be a while, because all my brides that are postponing, they're saying, the venue's requiring you to kind of pre-package each thing individually, right? And their guest count definitely like decreased a lot. Even my clients who are having birthday parties and stuff like that, where they would usually have it at like a playground, they are now asking for drive-by options. So this past weekend, we hosted a drive-by party at our bakery. We collaborated with the event planner. They built out a really cute dessert stand. So, you had a ton of people come in, but it was kind of like grab and go, right? They had a photo booth. They took a picture with the birthday boy, got to say their hello, grab some treats, and then they were out just to still celebrate these special moments, but in a different light. And in terms of like keeping the garlic breads and mochi donuts, I mean, I'm not sure. Mochi donuts might just become another branch that we can offer. I mean, I can definitely see it at weddings in the future later on, if this is a continued trend, but we just kind of have to make the most of what we're with right now.
So I'm excited that you've decided to take the leap and invest in the mochi donut machine.
Yeah.
I know that was a big decision. Right. And so, but it's a great example of, I thank you for sharing that COVID did push you out of your comfort zone and allowed you to experiment in ways that you wouldn't have expected before. And it sounds like you are also surprised and amazed that the audience has responded so positively. Probably even it's actually creating more problems. You're like, wait, folks love mochi donuts and they also love this garlic bread. What does that mean for who we are as a bakery? I've seen you innovate even on top of that. You're now doing sweet breads as well. So thank you for being just a wonderfully innovative and creative company. It's inspiring. And we will, there's a lot of chats commenting about mochi donuts and how awesome they are. So encourage people to come and support you once more of those are ready. Let's see. So Kevin, there's a picture here about Food Fest Live. Can you talk about why Food Fest Live was creative created, and who do you see as the target audience here, and what's the end goal of Food Fest Live?
Yeah, so originally when Food Fest Live started, a group of guys got together and decided a lot of small business restaurants, a lot of SMBs are hurting, and we'd like to help them learn how to create events virtually and also create virtual events for them so they could sell more tickets online. And so um, that was the original thought. And what's great about it is they started dreaming about it, and then after they started dreaming about it, they actually reached out to me. I wasn't the original guy that dreamt this dream up, and they reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you look at this and see if this is something that we can do?" And we kind of started brainstorming together. And so the first couple of events, that's kind of how it was born. And we sought out it was actually kind of a random pick of restaurants in the beginning, just to test it out and just to really see how viable this would be. And it was actually a really fun experience. And we created it where you would have the event, we would create every event was different. So it would be either you interview the chef and then you order the food, and then we would deliver the food before the event so you could eat it and kind of eat it together as a community and get like this one-on-one interview with the chef where you could kind of like ask him anything about the food and COVID or anything or any different topics that we covered. And every single event was not like the other, so they're very custom and curated to that restaurant. And we realized, wow, this is definitely something that we want to grow and scale in, and we can give back to the restaurant owner, because not every restaurant owner knows or has the updated technology or has the understanding of what these events can do. Every live event that I've ever done, even including, like, for example, we're doing this seminar right now for the first time for you guys, and watch the number of views that happens on this Facebook Live. Right now, we have maybe 6 people watching live. We have about amazing people in the audience right now. However, the conversion and the algorithm in place actually puts it out there if it's a public video, and you'll be shocked at that it still reaches anywhere from 400 people and above, and that's like each video. And the fact that it does that, I started getting amazed by just live streaming anything, and it's just the algorithms in place is crazy. And so I realized I want to go out there, I want to educate restaurants in this process, whether we try to create a financial way that it makes sense for these restaurants. So we're not going out there charging these like huge premiums whatsoever. We're really not doing that. We're actually just connecting with them, trying to figure out what makes sense, because we do have to use a team to do this, and then we teach them how to do this. And then we're almost kind of like a consultative company for food and beverage, but at the same time, we're also a media company that's releasing videos and content into the atmosphere. So we're going to be starting to launch a bunch of content. We haven't even done that yet, which is really exciting because we have so much content that we haven't released, and we have 24 videos in the pipeline that we want to slow release within the next 6 months. And we really want to also be a food and beverage, just on the media side, just to cover and just show them like what we're doing and highlight other local businesses. So in the end of the day, it's really an innovative way and also a fun way to just interact with food and beverage companies. And it's definitely growing into something much bigger. There's a technology component that I'm not going to say anything about yet, which is going to be really exciting. And there's a lot of partnerships down the line with some major companies that we've already secured, which is really exciting. So it's just growing. We don't know where it's going to grow. And I used to be a big planner myself, but at the same time, I'm definitely not. So I really am enjoying today, and I'm gonna really definitely have some plans, but at the same time, be ready to pivot and grow. So
Wonderful. If anyone out there has not checked out Food Fest Live, they have a whole series of events. They're really fun. They're really innovative. And you get to network and connect with community and eat together, which is really hard to do when everything's moved online. We have quite a bit of conversation on the chat box here. Kevin, there was a question that Jim Lee asked of you. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask that question and have you speak a little bit about it out loud. The question was, how do you intentionally connect to prevent hurting your entrepreneurship side? And how might it help?
Yeah, so I actually answered this in the chat as well. And basically, it's my main focus with that question was, I believe it meant like, how do I constantly connect with all these different people without hurting my own business along the way, because you're all over the place. That's kind of like the way I took that question. And I choose, this is not easy for everyone. You do have to kind of prepare yourself for how open you want to be and how accessible you want to be. I've made a personal decision to be as accessible as possible. And so what that looks like is I open up my calendar to most of anyone, whether they're in my line of industry or not. And I really just kind of open it up. And the reason being is because for me, I got to where I am today on the knowledge and wisdom of others. I was not born and like suddenly like became this like person. I'm just a really regular guy. And I had to learn all of this along the way. So that being said, the balance is really, it's boundaries. So you have to set really hard boundaries. Everyone always says, Kevin, you're doing all this stuff. How are you doing it? Wednesday through Friday after 6 p.m., I don't look at my phone. I'm on social media, but I don't look at my phone in the sense where like I don't do anything business related. I don't work weekends at all. I just don't. And on Saturday night to Sunday, I turn off all social media. I turn off all the electronics. I don't look at anything. And these hard boundaries I set for myself is protecting that space, finding rest, finding that Sabbath in that time is really, really, really important. And so that's what I focus on and how I find balance in that. And then as far as still being able to give advice and being able to help people, information, wisdom, and advice should always be given, especially if it's an experience that you could share. I would be careful of opinions being shared. I would definitely focus on experience being shared, and that should be freely given. I always felt that way. Now, when it comes to actions, implementation, and actually doing the work, if you have to get involved in that, you should get paid for that, 100%. So if
so
you have
much
to be,
goodness, yeah, there is so much goodness, words of wisdom here.
So anytime you find yourself in the implementation, execution piece of the advice you're giving, there should be an invoice involved.
Okay.
Because you have to invest in yourself more so you can invest in more people. Yeah.
I'm so glad we're recording, because the last 3 minutes, like entrepreneurs, we need to listen to that every week, every day. It's okay to turn it off. Sherry, you're actually in a very similar boat. Your days can get very, very long. You're redesigning, you're connecting, you're building out. What do you do? What advice might you have for yourself, reflecting back on how we can take care of ourselves as entrepreneurs and business owners?
No, I think I'm just taking Kevin's advice right now, learning to slow down and speed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then because you have a lot of collaborations, new products, DIY kits, new offerings, how do you strike that balance of feeling somewhat in control, but also able to be agile?
I think that I'm careful with the collaborations that I do, and the people that I partner with mean something to me. You know, there are people in my industry, and obviously you want to keep the industry strong, right? And knowing that the product that we're going to put out is, I mean, making a difference, and I don't mind putting the hard work that goes behind that, if that makes sense. Like this past weekend, one of my mentors, fellow bakery owner, you know, she decided to close her shop. I mean, obviously I'm busy running my shop alone, but knowing that this was a big moment in her time, a couple bakery owners and I, like, we just went over, helped her fulfill like 3,500 cupcakes. You know, like, out of love and like support for the community, and knowing that like it's not always competition just because someone's in the same industry as you. But I don't know, you kind of need these people to pick you up when things get a little rough. So kind of cultivating that relationship, I think, is important to me. So I mean, as business owners, I think we have our ups and downs, and when you're down, you have this core group of people to say, hey, you know what, I'm going through this right now. What do you think? Or what are some ideas? How can we collaborate? How can we kind of keep our eye on the prize and just moving forward, keeping that positivity?
Great. So what I'm hearing that a lot of leaders actually share as their top support is having a few colleagues that doesn't have to be in the exact same space, but for you mentioned other bakery owners too, that you can lean on and support each other and get through the hard times and celebrate fellow wins. So I think both you and Kevin practice that you have to have connections that are broad, but also a few that you can really rely on during these varied experiences as we run our businesses. So I wanted to close out with kind of bookending with Steve Jobs quotes. Innovation is the only way to win. That's something that has been true pre and post-COVID, but we invite you, we hope this webinar has helped you see that absolutely businesses have had to and have found success in innovation, either redesigning their current programs or launching whole new initiatives. And if you have any questions, if you're running a business, leading a team, and want more support, someone to talk to, maybe some business consulting advice, or just learning from others who have done this along the way. Kevin, Sherry, Joanne, the other Kevin, we have another Kevin on the line here, myself, we are all part of different network groups working with business owners. So feel free to reach out to us. I have a slide here, I believe, that has our contact information. So feel free to take a screenshot of this and connect with us so that we can all grow in this journey together. I'd like to now invite, oh yay, Kevin Seo gives the thumbs up. He's ready to connect. I'd like to turn this now to Kevin Rustanto, who is part of NAP Los Angeles. He's actually the director of marketing and helped us with all the marketing material and pushing this event out along with Joanne Yang. So thank you both. And Kevin, help close us out, please.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Kevin and Sherry, for sharing all that insightful knowledge. Really love that last part. Everyone's like connecting right now, which is super great. That's definitely what we want. Our goal as NAP is to unite the community, namely people and businesses, and we couldn't have done it without Braindom, by the way. So Julie, Joanne, thank you guys so much. We have so many success stories being told in different networks that we don't realize sometimes all we're missing is the how. And Braindom's goal is to equip small and growing businesses with tools and resources to help employees grow and expand their companies. As a NAP board member, I'm proud to be one of those resources, and as we all should. Sherry's Perfect Bakery really helped us out by being part of that LAOC COVID relief drive Joanne mentioned earlier. We've supported local businesses, $11,000, and we deliver them to over 30 medical facilities in LA and OC, which is amazing. And better or worse, world's gotten smaller. We've done more virtual events. We've been pushing towards more social and wellness programs in our events, like Kathy Chu, Root Cause Yoga. If you guys haven't joined our yoga events, they're awesome, by the way. You're missing out. In solidarity to our fellow leadership organizations and other Asian orgs as well, people from OC, NAP SD, we've also been collaborating with them a lot more, which is great. And I think more collaborations with our fellow Asian orgs will only help us grow to an organization that we want to be. Our national organization also held our virtual leadership conference with over 25,000 professionals and 30 local chapters in attendance. So not only do we want to connect you with big companies like SoCal Edison and Bank of America, we want your network to expand wherever you are in the US. and outside the US. We're also located outside there. The next webinar we'll be hosting next month is How to Multiply Your Leadership, presented by Bespoke, one of our proud partners. And also, again, Braindom's mission: equip small businesses with resources to grow, and NAP's goal is to help you apply those resources as we grow with you. So after you're done with the Zoom call, you'll have a 5 survey question to answer, which would be of tremendous help to see how we did today. I know surveys are a hassle, but here's how we're thanking you. Please tell everyone, if you visit lax.nap.org the next 24 hours or so, you'll notice that we are reducing the price of our membership just for the next 24 hours. So we promise you won't get in trouble for sharing that. Although, yeah, no, please do share that. And thanks so much for all your time, guys.